Something very interesting is happening in the Conservative leadership race, leading some people, well, me in particular, thinking to the idea, could could the next Conservative leader win the contest by winning a battle in the North? And this is a battle for influence and, more importantly, fighting in many cases for the honor or even the favor of the Tees Valley Mayor Ben Houchen. Now, we'll get into why they are fighting for Ben Houchen's approval, shall we say, later on. But first of all, for those who don't know, who is Ben Houchen? Now, we've talked about him a bit before, especially in the Freeport. And don't worry, we'll be touching on that later. But if you want to go find out about more about Ben Houchen and those Freeport, I do have more videos. So go back and look in my videos for those videos about Ben Houchen. But if you are a regular reader, of course, of the Private Eye or even the Yorkshire Post, you will know, or at least will be aware, of the many, many stories and potentially the scandals and some dodgy dealings going on at the Tees Valley site. So, first of all, let's talk about Ben Houchen's position. Why potentially has he now become, in some ways, maybe even potentially a kingmaker in this Conservative leadership contest? But before we do get into that, please do remember to click on the Patreon page, the Buy Me Coffee link, where you can, well, buy me coffee, the YouTube thank you button, and of course, as always, there is the Pony Club down below as well. And of course, please do click on the like, the share button, and leave a comment down below as to what you think of your, potentially, if you do live in the region, your Mayor Ben Houchen. I know he has fallen out of favor quite a bit, but Ben Houchen, how has he gone from this? So, a bit of brief history, a quick TDLR of Ben Houchen, how he got here. This was, of course, the Mayor Ben Houchen, and he got elected very much on the back of, at the time, the bit of the Conservative hopefulness around building of things like freeports, saying, oh, the Tees Valley site and Tees Valley, if it had a freeport, then it would like somehow solve the entire economic problems of the area. Ben Houchen, by the way, as we'll learn in a moment, very much linked his entire campaigns to getting this freeport built. So, of course, he wins. And of course, off the back of 2019 as well, he has a lot of Conservative MPs backing him up, saying, we want this freeport here. We want this built. And of course, what does he get? He gets the first freeport. In fact, it's really the only freeport that's really actually being built in many of these things. In the grand scheme of wanting to build these places, this is the only place that is really actually looking like it might actually get one. However, of course, as I said, we don't have time to go fully into this now, but there are many, many scandals, many accusations, a whole huge things of corruption and all sorts of stuff going on in and around this freeport. It's all very, very dodgy, to a point where Ben Houchen has really, it's damaged his image. Remember, after 2019, Ben Houchen and his team were making jokes that they won almost 80% of the vote, that he was calling himself like Kim Jong Houchen. These numbers were almost North Korea like, I believe is a direct quote from him. I can't remember now. Don't quote me on that. But he said something pretty much along those lines at the time of that win. But at the last local election, where there were a lot of fears that Houchen was going to lose, and of course they lost their West Midlands mayor, Andy Street, from Birmingham. They lost him. But Ben Houchen managed to survive, although with a very much reduced minority. Trust me, they weren't laughing about those Kim Jong-un numbers, but survive he did. And especially in the wake of the disaster that was the 2024 general election for the Conservatives, Ben Houchen sort of hyped himself up as, actually, if only the Conservatives had followed my advice, if only Sunak had listened to me, I am the model that all other Conservatives should now be following. And that's why, just remember, last month, if you remember, Houchen wrote that letter saying, hey, guys, please don't, start a civil war. Please, please don't. And so far, that has been quiet. But as I've said before, once this leadership campaign, this contest really starts to get going, it will be inevitable to avoid a civil war. Trust me, I think Bob Blackman's going to run out of yellow cards and maybe even out of notepaper writing these, stern notes to the candidates, because eventually, if they're going to have to stand out, they're going to have to start attacking each other. And oh boy, they will. They absolutely will. Not only that, but I guarantee you, a couple of them are looking at Kimmy Badnock and thinking, how hard do I have to push her for her to explode? And then, we can all sort of start indulging in some, blue on blue action while blaming it on her. I wouldn't put it past them to some of these candidates to be thinking that. But now that he is seen as like the quote successful Tory, the survivor of the this absolute disaster of a general election campaign, even though he wasn't part of the general election campaign. He kept himself very, very far away from the general election campaign, which is kind of funny in itself. That he is now there, almost being seen as the kingmaker, and having Ben Houchen's seal of approval, having his, having him, touch you on the shoulder, uh, giving his favor to you, is being seen as almost a way to win the contest, or at least a surefire way, maybe to catapult yourself into greater approval ratings. And trust me, his approval is being sought and fought after. So far, we've had 3 hopefuls travel up to Tees Valley and meet with Ben Houchen himself. Kimmy Badnock, Tom Tugendhat, and even Mel Street has been to visit Ben Houchen himself, while others, I'm pretty sure, will either be writing about how wonderful Mr. Houchen is and even making their own pilgrimage to see him at some point as well. But make no mistake, Houchen knows. Houchen knows full well the power and position he is now in. But the question is, what can he really be given? What can he be given to bribe him? Because currently he is the regional mayor. You can't really reward him, especially when, your party's not in power, which they aren't. And even more pressing, of course, Houchen at least had a bit of cover back, prior to the recent election wipeout they had, because at least they had a few Conservative MPs who could come to his aid when there were all these talks about the dodgy stuff going on at the Teesside Freeport. Now, of course, he is completely surrounded by Labour MPs. And of course, they have a very, very much a vested interest, shall we say, to having a closer look at Ben Houchen's books and finding out what's really been going on at the Tees Works. And of course, if this does lead to a big scandal or anything like that, this could see Ben Houchen maybe even lose his position as regional mayor. Who knows? Who knows what could happen? But make no mistake, these Tory leadership hopefuls are now flocking to Tees Valley to try and meet with him, to try and gain his approval. Because they know, or at least they think, they suspect, he carries a lot of weight within the party, and that, having his say so might gain you a lot of support. in the future, shall we say, skirmishes to come. But will he become the kingmaker? Will his approval actually mean a damn in the contest to come? And of course, as I've said before, what does that mean if you have Ben Houchen's approval in the final two, where it's the membership that will ultimately decide who becomes Conservative leader? We'll see what happens, but make no mistake, you are going to be seeing a lot of these Tory leadership hopefuls, certainly, I think, over the next weeks and months, try desperately to gain Ben Houchen's approval, or at least his assent, shall we say, to becoming the next leader. So we'll see what happens there, but I think you're going to be seeing quite a few skirmishes up in the north to try and win over Ben Houchen. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. Of course, down below, there are the links, the Patreon page, etc. All that. You know the drill by now. And, of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.